Kitty cat. My name is Shovel, the name of the channel is Shovel, and today we're going to work on some suspension repairs and upgrades on my 2015 Jeep Patriot. I don't know why I couldn't think of that number. So the Jeep Patriot has been in my household for about a little over 3 years or so, and it's by far our most used vehicle. Like whenever the weather is really crappy or whenever we just need to go to the store and pick something up, certainly when we have to pick up something that's kind of too big for a Mustang and doesn't necessarily call for a big truck, this thing, right? It's kind of economical, it's super practical, and that's about it. To set the expectation, when you clicked on this, you may have thought I was going to do something like a lift kit or some other kind of extreme visual suspension upgrade, and that's not happening. I'm sorry to burst your bubble on that. I want to preserve what this car does the best, which is it is a really good handling vehicle. I don't mean acceleration, that's not handling. It's not really fast up a hill, but nothing can run away from it down a hill. And I like that about this car, and I don't want to change anything about that. I just want it to work as well as it can and last me a really long time. So I've got some upgraded parts. Believe it or not, upgraded parts exist. I've got some just replacement parts as well, and that's what these boxes have in them. And we're going to look at them as we get along. I have added some fancy wheels and fancy tires to it to do a little bit better on rough terrain. I've also added some recovery hooks to the front of it, and I color matched those to the wheels because why not? What I've noticed recently is that the suspension up front makes squeaky noises and some kind of clicky noises, and I've diagnosed that a little bit. I found that the rear bushings on the front control arms are sloppy as all heck. I also figured out that the front struts are kind of worn out, and the rear lower control arms are a little wacky. So we're going to replace those, and we're not only going to replace them, we're also going to upgrade them. On my old control arm, these ball joints are a little bit worn out. It's hard to convey on camera, but I can kind of feel just a little kind of itty-bitty bit of give there, and these shouldn't have any give at all. They should be absolutely just locked in. It's not that they shouldn't move, it's just that there shouldn't be any movement in any direction other than what the ball shape defines. So if they have any kind of give at all, they're starting to be worn out. And so that's what's dying on this one here. But in addition to just simply being newer, the Moog control arms have a greasable ball joint here. So if I ever want to add grease to it to squish out water or any other contamination that might get into it, I can use the Zerk fitting there to push new grease into it. At the other end, it's got a spherical joint instead of a bonded rubber bushing, and the difference here is that this spherical joint is free to move around its axis so that this arm is able to tilt up and down as it needs to, but it doesn't move around in any other direction. The factory one is a bonded rubber joint, which twists the rubber, and that means that the rubber, of course, fatigues over time, and it also means that this is free to kind of move around in any direction it wants to. So this should be a tighter feeling suspension, a more sporty feel to it, as well as being able to flex more easily when there are bumps. So more compliant over actual bumps, but more rigid with steering input. With regard to the strut, I ended up just buying an OEM replacement. This one is made by FCS. There is a left side and a right side one. These are both, of course, the left side one, and you can tell by where the flag is for the sway bar mount. One thing I noticed, this one has a greater number of coils than this one, and I'm not going to get out a caliper, but to my eye, this one looks very slightly smaller gauge than this one. I don't know how or if that's going to affect ride height or ride quality, but I hope that it doesn't affect either of them in any negative way. Otherwise, you know, it's got like new rubber pieces here, it's got a new upper mount, so this is just all going to be nice and fresh, and assuming that the height that it gives me is the same as the stock one, that should be cool. Here's the new front lower control arm in place, and you can see that spherical joint being twisted exactly as it's meant to do. And so that's at its full misalignment with the suspension at full droop. Now you can see that these guys here have not been tightened in yet. That's because I still have a bit more work to do. And one thing I noticed while I was working on this is that that is bent. This is the sway bar linkage, and the driver's side one was bent. I must have really hit something hard in order to bend that. So I'm going to see if there is a stronger version of these available, and that way I can install those while I'm at it. In the rear, I discovered that the lower control arms from the trail-rated version of the Patriot have these gussets between the front and rear rails of them, so they are partially boxed. And you can see that here. I believe that they did that in order to make these more resilient if you're driving on really rough terrain and dragging it across rocks or logs or roots. As you can see, I've got a skid plate underneath my gas tank here, and if I were to drag the vehicle across some brutal rocks, just dragging it on top of that skid plate, the next place it would come and hit is this control arm. This control arm is just hollow inside. It's not really made to absorb a lot of impact in this direction. So if I'm dragging across this rock, the next place this rock is going to hit is right here on this control arm and possibly collapse it in and turn it into a taco. With the improved control arms from the off-road group, if I drag along a rock like this, and then I come back here and drag across this, since there are gussets welded between the front and back, that's going to make this an awful lot stronger, and I'm more likely to just drag across that rock without harm. And clearly, Jeep thought this was a big enough deal to put onto their off-road rated vehicles, so I thought, hey, that's not a bad upgrade. As long as I'm replacing these anyways, I'll just go ahead and get the ones that are already gusseted. Maybe not quite as glamorous, but I also noticed that my rear sway bar end links were kind of corroded and smashed and gross looking, so I got these replacements from Mevotech that look like they're going to last a long time, and they were real easy to install.
Did you ever read Voltaire's Candide? Says live life at Benny Hill, freak out, speed, not a quote what he wrote, but a paraphrase. Make it up as you go, guys. So say highlights, yes, but don't underline. I'm just living for now, like Gloria Steinem. Life is like Marion Barry. It's not all that it's cracked up to be, like Fred Sanford. When the big one comes, find the meaning of life is there is none. It's 24 hours when you call it a day. Be frank and say I did it my way. Don't give a flying unknown. Don't give a get you just have more fun than a well-oiled DJ. If ever picture perfect, you can't frame it, but the world is a dumper, so let someone else change it.
So this is the new end link, and this is the part that it replaced. Yeah, that looks to my eye like it's a little bit stronger. So hopefully it'll last longer, and well, all it really has to do, of course, is not bend. I gotta say, it felt pretty good to get into clean clothes and get showered and everything and be done with the work. Get all of those boxes of crap I've been hoarding in my garage actually installed in the car, and the boxes themselves put into the recycle bin. That all felt pretty good just by itself. And just driving around the neighborhood, I was no longer hearing squeaks or clicks or other unexpected noises from the suspension, which of course is the goal. That was perfect. So really happy with that so far. The next part I get to do is take it for a drive out to the lake, see how it drives on the highway, see if it feels any different, or at least if it feels any better, and see if the lake is fun to swim in. And after that, I'll let you know how it turned out. Those are going to be delicious in like a week and a half maybe. Super delicious. I cannot wait. That was a fun little drive out to the lake. We didn't really do a whole lot of swimming. We only went for a few minutes because it was super crowded. But we had a good time driving there and back and enjoyed ourselves a little bit that way. As for the Jeep, it drives like a brand new car. I mean, it drives perfect now. There's no ambiguity at all in the steering. It's tight, it's silent, it's exactly what I was hoping for. So I can't really report that I felt anything different from how it did when it was newer, whatever. I wasn't really expecting it to be night and day, but I was expecting that I put the best available parts on there that I could, and that it felt great, and it feels great. And as for the reinforced rear lower control arms, chances are pretty good I'm never actually going to put them to the test for which they are reinforced in the first place. But it's good to know that I've got the better quality or the stronger ones there in place. We all like a little peace of mind, and so I got that from those, and they didn't cost any more than the standard ones did. So overall, this was super successful. Anyway, thanks for watching.